till 4 years ago, had kind of an aha moment listening to a former NFL player, got up in front of a dad's group that I'm heavily involved with and said, I was depressed after I got out of sport. And it kind of put me back in my chair. And I thought to myself, this guy had numerous years, probably 10 years in the NFL, made a ton of money. How could he possibly be depressed? And the more and more soul searching I did and kind of connecting and discussing around the topic, I just was like, wow, I'm off. And I chased that gentleman for a while looking for some help. He was busy. He had family. He had school. I couldn't connect. And then my buddy Fred sensed that something was off. Happened to, jump into my life, asked if he could help. And believe it or not, 4 years later, a lot of what I've gone through is to his credit for seeing the pain and the hurt and the exploration I was trying to find and explore. And he scooped me up, man. And I'm forever grateful for it. So that's where I am today. We're 2020, married to my wife, 15 years now, 2 wonderful little girls, 1 7, 1 9. Both amazing, both healthy, strong, and overly wise, which is a challenge for mom and dad, but a beautiful thing. And just here to share a little bit about transition, share a little bit about, I always call it, you're not alone. Struggle is real. Struggle doesn't discriminate color, race, origin. It doesn't matter. It doesn't know any different. And it finds us all. I've lost teammates to suicide now. I've had another college roommate try to commit suicide. It's a big deal. And, with COVID right now, I think this is perfect timing, brother. A lot of seasons were ended last year. A lot of careers cut short. I tell everybody, Major League, I don't know if you guys knew this, but the draft went from 40 rounds for professional baseball to 5. So over 1,000 young men lost the opportunity this summer, fellas, to pursue the dream that they've been chasing for, like myself, for 20 plus years. Nothing they did. And they'll never get it back because they're talking about consolidating minor league baseball. They're talking about dropping teams and organizations, consolidating levels and talent and this and that. And I was telling my buddy Daryl this morning, I don't think there's a better time for us to be having these conversations and addressing the mission of transition. So my story is from small start in a little town of Pennsylvania. Myself, my parents, and my brother, and kind of a big fish in a small pond. I was very fortunate to be blessed with some athleticism. My parents were super, super excited about pushing me in a direction of a sport that I could excel, and baseball just happened to be that. And basically committed everything they had or they could to that mission. And just through the journey of high school sports into college sports, I went to 2 different universities, had a transferring experience, which I look back and is a blessing. It was extremely hard. It's difficult to pick up and leave one place where you were wanted and courted and played a ton, and then you shift to this new place that's foreign and you're starting all over again in the middle of all of it. To an unconventional departure, I went to I quit baseball. I left. I actually ran off to California. Finished an internship out there in Santa Monica, came back, started a graduate school program in biomechanics ex-phys, and just wrestled that first semester with what was I doing and did I give it up too early? Ended up dropping out of that graduate program second semester and pursuing baseball again, and just landed, fortunately, an opportunity through obviously network and knowing people and coaches and folks trying to give me a helping hand, and ended up with a 3-year minor league career with the Florida Marlins, man. Fast forward, went through about 11-year transition after sport of just trying to figure out who I was, what I was chasing, what stat was next, all those different measurables and scheduling and structural parts and pieces that sports is so convenient and great about offering, and recreating that. And man, just really struggled.
The example you use with the draft, there's a lot of individuals there whose career would probably be over right then and there. So they're going to have to transition into, a different type of world they're not used to. What's your message to them as far as, the biggest challenges they'll face while transitioning away from the game, and your advisement as to how to deal with those types of challenges?
Man, it's so good. I'm actually getting chill bumps just thinking about it because, my dad and I were talking about it, and my dad has kind of through my last 4 years, watched and seen my transition and my challenges. And he actually said he'd like to start getting involved. And his comment was, I don't know how you could have handled this when you were 18 or when you were 22, and if the game was taken away from you. He said, I don't think you could have. And I said, Dad, I did a bad enough job walking away on my own because it was my personal decision to leave the game. I can't imagine somebody taking it away from me, right? So chill bumps, man, chicken skin, just you asking that question. But what I tell folks is one of the most challenging parts of any transition, whether, this has a lot of synergies to military men and women as well too. And I'm just so grateful for them too. Shout out to all those folks protecting our freedoms and doing it so selflessly. We're just so grateful and appreciate all that you're doing. But a couple components that are really, really important, man. First and foremost is structure. So when you're an athlete, structure is not that it's easy, but it's provided, right? I knew where I had to be, when I had to be there. I knew what commitments I had. I knew when I went to the weight room, I was told what to lift, how to lift it, how many times to do it. I was told what to eat, when to eat it, where to eat it, right? I had that whole structure of schedule basically created for me. Well, when you get done with your sport, guess what? Nobody's doing it for you anymore. It's all solo. It's all the individual that's recreating that schedule. One of the biggest things when I talk to athletes right now that are new into the job force is they're lost. I was on a podcast earlier this week, and this gentleman, highly successful professional athlete, highly successful college athlete. And he said he got hired by a medical sales company that just put him in the field and said, okay, go sell, go do it. And he couldn't figure out any sort of routine, when he was supposed to be anywhere, where he was supposed to be there. But they thought because you are an athlete, go get him, Tiger, right? Like, go get him.
Right.
So I'd say structure is the first thing that an athlete definitely has to address quickly. And again, that takes a lot, that takes mentoring too. It takes preparation. My friend and Daryl and I in this athlete transition space, we like to call it dream big and dream beyond. Right? Like, we don't want to squish your dreams and squander your hopes of potentially being the next NBA MVP. Like hold on to that, right? That's super important. But there's a place where we have to start planting some seeds for what dream beyond looks like. And what I share with folks is there's 100% chance that you're going to be done. Brett Favre, Tom Brady, all these legendary long-time players are definitely skewing the numbers. But at the end of the day, they're done. They're done. I mean, you see how many of them try to revisit and how many are coming back, like Gronk, right? Gronk, why are you coming back, brother? Right? You can't find anything else that fulfills you, my friend, because you love the game too much. You cannot find anything else. And that's what we try to do with our transition mission, is that we're trying to find that purpose that's even greater than when you were an athlete, than when you were playing a sport. Second thing is, so you've got structure, and the next is support. And support's the big thing, right? Because again, you're surrounded by teammates and everybody's on a common mission. And believe it or not, most of the guys and gals that you're with, they're working the same speed and the same tenacity that you are, right? They're trying to get somewhere further or win a championship. You've got coaches, trainers, parents, fans. You've got all this support that's endorsing the time, effort, and interest that you're putting into it. And when you're done, they're gone. You're forgotten, right? So quickly, you have to figure out who are the people now you're associating with. I'm very, very fortunate. I had some very successful people that scooped me up when I was trying to figure that out just out of baseball. But I got to tell you, the first thing, and this is the next part of it, is the statistic that you're going to chase, right? And what's you're surrounded by statistics your entire life. You've got GPAs through school, right? Then you've got your statistics for sports. You've got class ranks. You've got all these different parts and pieces that how you evaluate what you're doing. And then you get out into life afterwards and, okay, what's my measure? So blessed to be surrounded by some great mentors, but at the same time, it was one-dimensional. It was all monetary. So I take my athletic training, which is go, 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 never give in, never quit, always conquer. And now I put it to this new statistic. And that new statistic quickly ran me into a rat race, right? Into a hamster wheel that I just couldn't shake myself loose of until almost the wheel fell off, right? So I think those are the biggest three, right? So structure, support, and then statistic. And it's reinventing what those are when you get out of, something that's very very controlled, I guess, right? In athletics.
Louis and I went to the same college. We wanted to pursue a career in professional broadcasting and TV news.
Sure.
I personally got myself a job at KCWY, NBC Wyoming as a weather anchor. It was my dream job. That's what I, kind of put all my high school and college career. And Louis will tell you how we spent overnight in our college TV station. So, slept on a hard table for 4 hours just so that we can create resume tapes to get a job. In any case, when I did get the job, although it was my dream job, it hit me that I have to sacrifice a number of my, personal responsibilities, towards my parents who were not doing well physically. And I walked away. I walked away from a dream job that I pursued for a good 6, 7, 8 years. And that was a form of identity crisis for me, as I didn't know what else to do for a career, because that's what I did at that point. So it was a meltdown in many ways. Mentally wasn't in the right place. I can't recall now what kind of, how things happened, transpired, and here I am today as a psychiatric nurse practitioner. But at the time of, I would say it was mentally exhausting, depressing. But what would you say before these athletes, former athletes, decide that, yes, I do need a structure, I do need that, all those other aspects in my life? How do you get to that? That transition, something has to happen, right? Because right now there are many athletes, former athletes, sitting at home, depressed, maybe, struggling with substance use. How do you get them out of it, right? Or what do they do to get to that phase where they start realizing that I do need structure, I need something?
Sure. Hey, first, thanks for your testimony and your authenticity with that, brother. That's really cool to hear, and the ownership you had with that. You kind of gave me some chill bumps. You made a really brave decision to leave your career. I share one of, and again, you know how sensitive I am with words and how deliberate I am with what I say. So I avoid regret, but part of my story is the fact that I do have some wishing in the past, which is, I know, dangerous, but my mom came down with cancer. And so, as mom and dad would often do, hey, I'm good. You don't need to come home from pro ball. You don't need to leave. Keep grinding. This is your chance. And, I'm grateful for their support, but, I had a decision to make, and I've documented it with my buddy Daryl in a video, that I wish I would have chosen differently. So I admire your decision, brother. And I know it wasn't easy. And especially the kind of turmoil that surfaced from that, and that loss of identity and purpose. But look at you now, right? Here you are, you're hosting a podcast.
I don't regret. And
you're
absolutely
no,
right.
But I'm saying it's coming, right? That's the hard part about seasons, is we get so impatient because it doesn't look like we thought it was supposed to look, and it's not built the way it was. We said it was supposed to be built, but you took some time away. You supported the folks that have supported you for so long in your family. And now, as you've grown with your family and they're maturing and your time's changing and your season's evolving, you and Louis are now starting on what could be the cusp of something, super cool and super awesome in the same realm of what you dreamt, right? So just wanted to share that little piece of encouragement. What I would do, the athletic side is really hard, man. I share it. My transition piece, my collapse almost came 11 years after I got done. Right. My college roommate tried to commit suicide 2 weeks after he got done. My college teammate who committed suicide was 2 years ago. Right. And he was probably 36 years old, 37 years old. Right. So, in terms of like, the only thing I can share with you is what we're trying to do with Second Chance Athletes is just introduce the conversation sooner. Nobody ever had the conversation with me, and I say that humbly, and also in retrospect, sitting in a financial planning meeting with the Florida Marlins. Okay. We're in spring training. I'm sitting there where this financial planner comes in. You would think all of us would be sitting there like, oh my gosh, what's this guy going to tell us? How are we going to do this? Meanwhile, all of us were doing this. Oh yeah, we're just baseball players. We're never going to be done. What are you talking about? Like, don't talk to me about financial planning. Don't talk to me about future. Nobody's taking these shoes off my feet, right? I'm going to be around forever.
Right.
So it's a challenge there. And again, too, my buddy Daryl and I wore this today. I don't know if you can see it. It says Project P6. And on the back, it says nobody's perfect. It's a little homemade jobby. But this was one of our speaking engagements we did for one of the local high school teams. And so we started trying to get here locally with Second Chance Athletes, introducing that conversation again of dream big, right? And dream beyond. So the curriculum we've created and the methodology we're trying to implement is twofold. One is we got to start the conversation sooner. I can't just, again, I was la, 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 and I get it. But again, you have to start this conversation on transition sooner. But then two, the second thing we're doing is we're trying to create some metrics and some data points that we can actually identify higher risk transitional athletes, right? So instead of saying the general public is all going to have troubles with transition, which isn't the case, but there are people that associate identity very significantly to the sport, right? For whatever rhyme or reason. We want to know who those athletes are. And then those are the athletes we're going to really focus our conversations and our programming for. And obviously happy to serve any athlete. But, I've got buddies that didn't even sweat a transition. They had jobs lined up afterwards. A friend of mine was an Olympic bobsledder. Really crazy story from, Atlanta, Georgia. How do you become a bobsledder, right? But he had a career first. So he was working in the construction industry. He got this random notice that you could try out for the bobsled team, and he did, and he made it, right? He tested, and he ends up being an Olympic athlete. And then he went back to construction, and he was fine. No real transitional challenges, right? He went back to what was familiar. Right. So myself and my brother, a little bit different situation. Again, small town, big fish. Some unintentional pressures, family-wise, probably some self-inflicted pressures. To the point of I cheated to get this goal that I wanted to achieve. And, that's one of the last things I had to accept and confront in my transition story is what it pushed me to do. So if there's any athletes that are out there listening to this that have done any of that, I get it. I get it. The identity you associate with this, I call it my drug, right? I mean, you guys work with addicts and recovery and things of that nature. Sports was just my drug. And I literally compromised, morals. I stole, I cheated, to accomplish something that I thought was so important to me, right? So, again, that conversation just needs to start earlier. We need to start planting those seeds. We're not going to make anybody have those aha moments off the get-go. But if we can have those conversations and identify what we may consider, through science, the most highly at-risk athletes, then hopefully they don't go through an 11-year transition like myself, where I potentially was jeopardizing. I wasn't potentially, I did jeopardize my family, right? My future, my finances, the suicide side of things. Hopefully they don't have those experiences, right? Again, all that's independent of us. We're just, again, we just share the message. And, I think we all agree people are going to make the decisions when they want to make them. So I hope that kind of helps.
Louis, again.
One thing that I was curious about, and it's kind of funny timing that she came into the shot. What gets you motivated every day? Because we've talked a lot about affirmations and meditation and mentality. Having a certain mentality. In your life, in your world, what motivates you every day? Because I think people hearing your message may end up catching on to something that maybe can help them as well.
Again, this is just something that's recently on my heart. So you said motivation. I'm going to call it peace. We grind. And everything you hear is improve, get better, get more, obtain more, achieve more. I've just found peace, man. And I wish that for people, that, seasons change. And what I've truly learned in that little bio I sent you, right? I'm in a season right now. I'm in a sacrificial season, which is not easy to absorb and to persevere through. But my wife is an extremely successful professional. And so I'm in a season of supporting her career. I'm in a season of supporting two young ladies that are just happy and joyful to spend time with me right now, which I'm sure you guys have heard the whole teenage thing. I'm trying not to get, overly wrapped up in it because I know every kid's going to be different, but there's probably a tendency that my kids won't want to hang out with me in the future. Not they won't want to, that they'll have other people to hang out with in addition to mom and dad, right? So
Yeah.
I'm in a season of trying to really just cultivate that, and professionally just read and write and just learn. But I'm not really questing, to be truthful. You know, I put things to 4 F's that I've shared before. Is faith, family, fitness, and finance. Those are my 4 F's. And I've tried to touch those 4 F's on a daily basis. And somebody said, oh yeah, so you balance them. And I said, balance is kind of dangerous in my world, right? Because the seasons shift. And sometimes, even though I want faith to be first, it falls to third or fourth, but it's still in there and I'm still touching it. But, you know, I just recently went through a property acquisition with my wife, which has been an amazing experience. And that consumed me. So my fitness piece got a little bit less because I was absorbed with that, but it was just that season. I'll share with you more than motivation. I think it's discipline. And so my discipline right now is, now I'm coming out of one season, and shoot, we've seen so many seasons through COVID, y'all. I mean, that's been the biggest crazy thing about 2020, right? 2 words that God put on my heart at the beginning of the year were adaptation and energy. And my wife laughs about adaptation. She's like, wow, you couldn't have picked a better year. And I said, I didn't pick it, but yeah, it fits pretty good, right? So we've gone through probably 8 to 10 different schedules and regimens throughout the entire, you know, the year so far, between kids at school and not at school, and babysitters and no babysitters and work. So I not to twist words, or I'm just very sensitive to them, but to anybody that's wrestling with that, rely on the disciplines. Athletes and military are unique groups of people that have been trained to be disciplined. We've just done it inside of structure again, if that makes sense, right? So find that same discipline that you've learned and figure out how to recreate it. And you can't recreate it by yourself. And that's the beauty of you guys two working together on this. I have a favorite verse, I've shared it before, of Ecclesiastes 4:9-10, of having another to pick you up when you fall, right? It's such an important piece of the journey, wrestling with some of the identity and the uncertainty, and even yourself. I mean, it doesn't sound like you're in your dream profession. Your dream profession took a pause, right? Anyways, I kind of share it that way. Peace more so than motivation. There's so many motivational speakers out there that would correct me and say, no, you got to have goals and you got to have drive. And I'll be honest, I've been happier with peace than I was with persistence and motivation. Because I always ask people, when does it stop? You reach, and then guess what? The bar does what?
That's true. Keeps going up. Yeah.
And it's like, I told a buddy of mine earlier this week, I was like, where's the book on content? Where's the book on happy? You know, I just got something again today that was, you know, this leadership thing. It's push, push, push. And I said, this is what I talk about. Everybody's seasons are going to be different. You know, your parents getting sick, bro, that's a season. That's a tough season, man. And you can't have the same expectation of career. You can't have the same expectation of family. You can't have the same expectation of fitness and finance when you're taking care of a family member, bro. That's a grind, dude. Right? But as I challenged a buddy of mine today that's a general manager of a Buffalo Wild Wings, you know, he's like, man, I'm struggling. I said, man, listen, just be aware of your season, be accountable for it, and be the best at it you can, right? Find that peace. But I said the one important thing, and this is where athletes need to remember, is don't get stuck in that season, because the season's going to change. Your circumstances are going to change. Your family dynamics going to change. Your finances are probably going to change, and don't get stuck in it. That's when that discipline piece, Louis, that I share with you, that's where you go back to your discipline piece and say, okay, one is I got to get with a brother or a sister that's going to hold me accountable. And two is I got to get myself back on. And once you get that stuff cranking again, you're going to flow into another season, you know? And I don't know. That's just where I'm at. Right? When we talk about the marriage piece, I was 25, 30 pounds heavier, right? I mean, I wasn't the sexy athlete my wife married. And guys laugh at me. What do you mean? I said, get your stinking sexy back, dude. You're a slob.
Yeah.
Same thing, you know, with, you know, do you know
absolutely.
Do you know that 40% of former athletes are overweight? 40%.
Wow. That's a huge percentage. Jesus.
Big number of somebody
massive.
that's always trained, always been in shape, always ate right, always been fit. and now they're overweight. 40%. The University of North Carolina, Greensboro did a whole research study for the NCAA. It's insane.
That's
so
crazy.
Man, again, faith, fitness, family, and finance, those 4 components, if you can rest your head at night and know that you've touched each one just to the best of your ability within that season, bro, that's peace.
Right.
And that's great rest waking up the next day, and then you can take it on again, right? So yeah, that's incredible, man. Good for you, brother. Awesome.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
I've enjoyed, always our conversations, Ryan. I know you and I share our faith, and we have had different dialogues about it. And I can't agree with you more on those 4 F's that you talked about. And from my perspective, it's been faith, but then all the rest of the 3 sort of align with it. So they go inside it. So even if I'm addressing finance, I am serving faith. Even if I'm
lead with faith. Yes.
So even if I'm doing fitness, I'm still serving faith, because at the end of the day, that fitness is going to allow me to serve others. At the end of the day, my finance is going to allow me to serve others, and my family and myself, of course. So that, when that sort of all come back, but at the core of it is still, for me, that is, has been faith. And, going back to all my years, different careers and whatnot. And I've talked to Louis too, that one place that I've always come back to is faith. Last week, we were having a conversation, Ryan, about fantasy football and men, and their obsession with fantasy sports. And one of the things that I was telling Louis is that over the course of the last couple of years, I'm working hard on myself to not get attached to a number of these things, like fantasy sports, like, materialistic stuff around that I have, but leading with faith, in a sense, because that is one place that I can go back over and over and not be disappointed, because that allows me to keep myself centered, serve my family, enjoy life at the same time. Nobody's saying that, you have to be so disciplined and, sort of impose punishment on yourself. But what you said, again, just kind of resonated with everything that we and I always talk on the phone about. Right. And the second thing you talked about is adaptation. I love Bruce Lee's, that one quote, right? Be water, my friend. And I shared that with a lot of my clients, that, you pour water in a cup, it becomes a cup. People are talking about COVID. I hear a lot of my clients say, once this COVID, once we have this taken care of, but then we come back to, okay, once COVID is gone, but there could be something else. There could be, might be a family matter. There could be something else. So for us, it's the each and every day grind of being flexible as water, right? And that's what we're trying to do. So I wanted to.
Are creatures of habit, right? I mean, let's be transparent with that. We all like structure. We all like a routine. And when that gets disrupted, it's an emotional challenge. It's a psyche challenge, right? And so when those things get thrown out of whack, emotionally, we can become challenged, where we get angry or frustrated or discouraged, sad, whatever it might be. So yeah, I mean, adaptability has just been, it's been wild. And it's sad, man. I have double-digit friends, locally and throughout the Atlanta area, that haven't stuck out marriages through this. And it's one of those things that it's putting additional pressures on people. But I really like what you said, is this won't be the only time, right? The recession of 2008 that I got laid off in, I end up in an unemployment line for the first time, and thankfully the last time ever, but I was there, right? I'm in that line and I'm collecting that check. That's not something I ever thought I would have to deal with. And I did. So yeah, to your point, be present, right? Be aware of the season, be good at your season, be present within your season, right? Because they are going to change. They could potentially change weekly, if not monthly, yearly, or every decade. Our age, the 3 of us, we're probably all starting to enter into, not only we're going to be caretakers of youth, we're going to be caretakers of parents, and that's a very challenging place to be. Where you're actually having to spread yourself even more thin, and those challenges that go along with, maintaining a strong marriage and making sure you're having date nights and making sure you're still taking care of your number one and your spouse, right? As well as spending time with your kids, and also being caretaker for your family. So, yeah, it's just, again, I go back to lead with faith, just as you said, Amer. We had a really, really strong conversation today with an organization that wants to potentially fund us at Second Chance Athletes for this transition conversation. But, both my partner and I step back and say, faithfully, is this the right decision? That's a finance decision. He's now fully vested in the mission, and he's concerned about money. Do we take it because we're scared and we're hungry, or do we faithfully step back and evaluate it and say, okay, is this truly a part of the mission, and is this a good partner to have? So I really like what you said as well, too, brother. Is still keeping that faith basket, and then everything else is kind of placed into it. But it takes discipline. And that's what I share with you. I admire most about you, man, is your discipline to that, and that's it's admirable. How important you've placed that for your family, for yourself, and how strong you've kind of resisted, losing that or minimizing that. And that's just a testament to your discipline. And that's really awesome. Well, I'm just really grateful for that, brother, giving me this opportunity. But we started a mission together about 3 years ago. We were brought together through an online connection. Somebody out of Florida, a friend of ours, Brandy, said, hey, this guy's moving down from Michigan to Atlanta. You guys need to catch up. You guys have some similar interests in transition. After a breakfast at Waffle House, here we are 3 years later. He's launching a book called Who Am I After Sports? It's on Amazon. It's actually the #1 new release right now. It's doing extremely well. His first week of proceeds of sales is going strictly to inner city youth sports. He has decided to dedicate everything that he takes off this book for the first week to inner city youth sports. I'll share with you that it's a bigger message, right? It's not just sports. This book is conditioned that way because that's our experience. But Amer, like you and Louis were talking about with your whole broadcasting careers and that transition piece, that lostness, that rediscovery, it's transferable in corporate, it's transferable in military, it's transferable, in so many different dimensions. So grab a copy of that. Again, everything for this first week, we launched on Tuesday. Everything for the first week goes to inner city youth sports. We're trying to start the mission. We're trying to get this thing ramped up. We got the 501c3 filed, waiting on that paperwork. And then we're just excited. We're excited to get into schools, high schools, colleges, professional teams, wherever folks are willing to have us to prepare and have the conversation of what the next chapter can look like. But one person watching this today who changes their life makes it all worth every single minute, every single piece of equipment you guys have purchased, everything you guys are doing, if one life has changed from what you all are doing. So
thanks, Ryan. Yeah, and Louis and I, when we first started this, that was the goal. It's that if it helps one soul, and these are one of the things again, I go back to my faith. From my faith perspective, what I believe is you leave something behind you, and it can continuously give fruits even after you're gone. So I feel that this platform on YouTube and on Anchor, if there's one person, even after we leave this world, if it still sustains and if it can help one, I believe that it does come back and help me in my journey in faith and moving forward. But anyways, I have to close up for today's session. So
can I leave you one quick thing, Amer? One quick thing. So this shirt, right? I haven't launched it yet, but it's a Route 66 sign. So it's P6. Right? P6 is the pursuit of perfection paralyzes a person's potential for peace. So I know you were a little flustered earlier, right? Louis, I don't know if you've ever quested after perfection. It was my demon. It probably ruined my athletic career. It ruined my ability to be friends with other people on other sidelines because my pursuit of perfection was so aggressive. I couldn't actually find peace. I couldn't find joy. And so I'll leave you with that. P6, the pursuit of perfection paralyzes a person's potential for peace.
Ryan, please come back with us. I know your time is valuable. We would love to have you back again. I know it's hard to open up this time. I know you have your family time that you could be rather spending right now. So again, we can definitely value from your future appearances, right? So, okay. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Ryan, Louis, for again, making the time, and hopefully you guys got something good out of it. Please be sure to leave your comments. We're going to leave also a link for Daryl Stinson's book, Who Am I After Sports on the show description. Check it out. And once again, subscribe to our channel if you find something helpful. And we will see you very soon with another juicy, spicy podcast and YouTube show. Take care, everybody.